Greetings. Getting this little thing in order, so give me one moment. So what we have today is we have Black Messiah's 7 degrees for temple building. Black Messiah's 7 degrees. And as you see, first degree is our story, question and answer. Temple building symbols, question and answers, 7 bodies, 2 pillars, the 9, the born, the Atum or Adam and Eve. Degree 3, the 3rd degree, is God. 7 bodies, 7 chakras, 2 pillars, the 1, 2, and 6. Which is a part of our question and answer. Okay. When we get to degree 4, it is mind science, 7 principles of nature, walk on water, the question and answer. When we get to degree 5, it is the valley of Pinel, water to wine, milk and honey, question and answer. Degree 6 is called alchem, the alchemy. And degree 7 is Messiah, Stargate, Traveler, Keeper of the Craft, and question and answer. Black Messiah's 1st degree. Our story, question and answer. Was there never a time when man was not? And this is question 1. Question 1 is very interesting to most people, but to most of my brothers and sisters who are Moors or who have been studying under the Moor science, I don't want to say who are Moors, because if you're black, you're a Moor. If you're indigenous, you're a Moor. So in understanding that, Noble Drew Ali made a statement, and his statement was actually a quote from the Bhagavad Gita. And it was, there never was a time when man was not. So in our question and answer of our story, the first question is, why was there never a time when man? The answer, spirit is man. That atom, A-T-O-M, which is Adam, that manifests into the physical form. And we here have code 126. Which is Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Let us create man in our image and our likeness. For those who have been through the study and through the classes, when we go through this, we tap into our degrees and we understand that atom or atom, A-T-O-M, when it slows down, like Adam put into a deep sleep, it becomes matter. Matter is mother. And mother of all living things is Eve, which is matter. So we know that question 1 is explaining that man's original nature is spirit. So there could never be a time when man was not, because he's an eternal spirit. And then there's terminologies that actually go with that. When we deal with the 1, 2, and 6, it is a 9, which is a born process. So it is the birthing process of spirit into matter. We also deal with it under the Elohim. Elohim is plural, signifying in this actual chapter was the 7 Elohims, the 7 angels. Just like you have 7 chakras, So you have Elohim, which is plural. Then you have Eloh, which is singular. So it is a science. Question number 2. What was the form of the original man? Again, as we started in the beginning, we said spirit. When we go to question number 2, man was a cosmic entity. You see the number 16. 16 is what? The 16th letter of the English alphabet is what? What is the 16th letter of the English alphabet? It is knowledge equality. When you knowledge your equality, you will birth God. 16 is the number for what? P for power. P for power. Power is also signified. So what was the original form of man? The original form of man is a cosmic entity. He is the power of the intellectual, mental, the original mind, the mind of all of creation, to say it in certain aspects. Number 3, what was the gender of man? Now, this is why we are in a paradox right now, dealing with homosexuality and the clashing within cultures. At one point in time, we didn't deal with it in that aspect because we understood some of the androgynous natures and androgynous beings returned. So they didn't come back to implement a cultural, sexual, lifestyle. They were part of an ancient genetical truth. So what was man's gender? What was the gender of man? And the man was neither male nor female. Man was androgynous. We know this from the natural patterns, as above, so below, as within, so without. So when we study this, we know that man was neither male nor female because when a baby is in the womb, there is a time period when you can go to the doctor and the doctor will tell you that they cannot tell you what your child's gender will be because they are neither male nor female at this time. How, question number 4, how did man become male and female? How did man become male and female? Man was neither male nor female. He was androgynous. So how did he become that? Man becomes male and female. Answer: the vibrating force, the electromagnetic field change polarizing this plane. So this plane's electromagnetic field change, causing a change in the genetical output of the, what you would call it, like a binary balance in the original androgynous, allowing there to be a polarity, creating different genders. Question number 5. What was the birthing process before man became male and female? Answer: the cosmic ones gave birth by divine thought. Your thoughts still give birth today. They give birth on a lower frequency, but at one time you gave birth from your mental on the highest frequency. Also, you see that there is a code. All is mind. All is mind. And you see this is number 5, power, question 5, which is power, which is the number for mind. All is mind. And the code there is also 17. 17 is to knowledge God. Knowledge God. But the 17th letter of the English alphabet is Q, representing queen. So the queen represents the Eve, the matter, the mother. So when we talk about that, remember the feminine is that which gives birth. Okay. Question Number 6, what became more enhanced as the vibration of polarization on this plane increased? So the polarity magnetical field is changing. Um, uh, the cubic atmospheric pressure is changing. So the molecular nature changes. And then that also changes the hormonial nature to convey the being into a survival essence. So this natural essence also causes the cosmic ones to become more earthly and sensual. And the code here is 4, 4 for the 4 elements. So we had ascended into the 4 elements, becoming more sensual. Remember, we originally mental. All right. Number 7. What did the earthly sensualness bring? The new earth challenged to maintain balance. The new earthly beings were challenged to maintain balance. Code 4. Physical world, the four worlds, Zilith, Briar, Yetzirah, Asaya. It's just a code here. Understand we're in the 7th question. God is coming to matter, 7-4. Number 8. What was the form of the earth? Answer. It is known in science as Pangea. Many call it in Hebrew the plain of Asaya, Asia. Afura, Kaaba. Code CI power her, cipher. So the earth is our cipher. The earth is our cipher. And see that I power her, fatten her so that she can give birth, power her magnetical field of balance. See, I power her, because we're talking about the earth, but a her was placed on it, so it is the physical plane. Was there race in this time? Question number 9. Was there race in this time? Answer, no. There was only one people, the indigenous indigene people of cosmic waters called Abyss, or Nun, or Nu, or Yemaye, the black cosmic waters. So we were children of the abyss, of the Nun, of the black cosmic waters. So we were children of Al-Kim, the black god. The Abyssinian is another name of people of the abyss. So when they called people Abyssinians, they were saying the people of the abyss. The hues of vibration, the abyss. Remember, Nun is the mother of Joshua in your Bible. But Nun is a Kemetic name. Okay. Now the code here was 7 for God and 666. The carbon melanin. Very big code. Now this is just the degrees. This is the question and answer for our story. So it's going to take us into a questionarial point where we're going to understand the beginning of creation. So at this point in time, the question and answer is saying that at the beginning, etheric body beings. And then when we took form into the physical form, we were then androgynous, neither male nor female. And then we went into another vibrational frequency. And that brought us into the polarity of male and female. But at the same time period, the planet was Pangea, one landmass, and it was going through certain natural destructions, which we were key in because we were the ones who were part of the power, the electromagnetic field here, and we were supposed to help keep balance. Okay? Stage questions that's going to take us into an understanding of this. Were all of the cosmic ones gone from Earth, from the earthly plane, as the polarized frequency lowered? No, they were still present, giving guidance. So some people say, well, what are you talking about? Remember, the original form of man is a cosmic entity. Then man fell into gender through the frequency falling. So were the original cosmic ones all gone at a certain time period when we get to where the frequency has changed and man has become more earthly and more sensual? Why were the cosmic ones leaving this plane? What was going on? So we're into these next questions. Here we go. Were all of the cosmic, this is number 10, were all of the cosmic ones gone from the earthly plane as the polarized frequency lowered? No, they were still present, giving guidance. So when we talk about it, we talk about some of our ancestors still carried an etheric body, a light body being. Remember your DNA, hydrogen. Your DNA, the DNA strands of the strands of your DNA are hydrogen. You're a hydrogen being. Your hydrogen is the same thing in the sky called the sun. So you're a child of Ra, a sun being. So our ancestors said we were children of the sun, cosmic light beings. Even in the book of Thomas, in the for the book of Thomas for the Bible, they asked the question. Disciples said, Jesus, if they ask us, where do we come from whence do we say? And Jesus says, tell them you come from the light. So the code has been transcended in all of religions. Even in Islam, the Prophet Muhammad had to ascend into the mountain of Hira, the mountain of light. So you have to ascend into the light of your DNA. Your Moses, your Musa has to, which is your mind, has to unlock that. So we're dealing with the question and answers of degrees that help the consciousness start to unlock the science of itself. These are the degrees of the Black Messiah. This is degree 1, our story. Question number 11. What guidance were they given? Guidance were they given? Now let me read it again. Were all of the cosmic ones gone from the earthly plane? Answer. Present, giving guidance. So number 11, knowledge. What guidance were they giving? What guidance were these etheric beings in ancient times telling the human earthly ones? What was the guidance that was given by the ancient ancestors who were now what we would call light body beings? They're the starships that you see traveling sometimes. So what were the guidance they were giving? Answer. The remember. Remember, Asa was chopped up. His body was dismembered. So you have to remember, place the body back together. So when you place the body back together, the Aset, which is the feminine, will then resurrect the Asa so that it can give birth to the Heru. This is a science. So understand that when we are talking into the degrees, we're dealing in a science of life and of resurrecting the hero in you. What guidance were they giving? The answer, the remember of our true nature and how to keep the balance, keep the way. So the etheric light body beings were telling the earthly ones to remember their true nature and how to keep balance and to keep the way. And the code here is 18, knowledge to build and destroy. Why were the cosmic ones leaving this plane? So if this life force on this planet started with etheric light body beings, why were they leaving, and why were these earthly ones, sensual beings, as ourself, as our physical vehicle now, why were we here and the cosmic ones was leaving? Because their cosmic form operated on a higher vibrational frequency. Code 3, the Atum, ATUM. Code 3, Atum. In some of the biblical scriptures, you will find that the name Atum is associated as the father of Lamech. Lamech. And Cain slew a man, and he was what? Protected sevenfold. But Lamech slew a man in his blindness, and he was protected 70-folds. So this Lamech is a very important character in certain aspects. And Lamech is is part of the lineage in which the story lineage would take you to another Enoch, and Enoch the city. So, we'll bring all of that back, but we have to include it in the discussion so that we can come back and build on those words that was just given. So the cosmic ones were leaving this plane because they were operating on a higher vibrational frequency, and the magnetical polar frequency here was changing. And so this is why, and when you talk about atmospheric pressure due to the magnetic field, some of our ancestors were said to have lived in the ocean underwater to balance the atmospherical pressure as the polarity changed, as the polar electromagnetic field here changed on this planet Earth. Explain question 13. And this is 13 is a number for understanding, knowledge, understanding, for. So we're opening a door. 13, question 13. Explain the difference in the earthly beings and the cosmic beings. Answer. As the vibration changed on this plane, the cosmic ones, who were neither male nor female, carried a complete charge and were able to give birth cosmically, but the frequency being lowered formed the generation after them as male and female, the carriers of half a charge, who had to unite to give birth. But by nature they are one and the same, but yet a duality of nature. Code 7. So now we have earthly beings, and we still have our cosmic light body beings. Okay, but they're leaving this earthly plane. Question 14. Where did the earthly come from? They are children of the cosmic one, but the electromagnetic frequency changed, lowering the vibrational form. Code. Electromagnetic polarity vibration, Anaki, which many of you started studying under the Nubians, but there's many other codes to that, understanding that, which we will touch, but we're going to keep going through the question and answer, and we'll build back up. Were the earthly beings as humans are today? So these earthly ones, after the, like how we are today, are they earthly? Are they lustful? Are they angry? What are they? Are they like us? Are they fighting? Are they war beings? Or were they some type of different earthly beings because they came directly out of the cosmic ones? Well, were the earthly beings as humans are today? Answer: no. They operated in a higher nature, but yet the same. The operation of the third eye, tele- telepathic, telekinetic power, magnetic, polarity, vibration, Anunnaki. Why did the earthly beings, question 16? So we got code here in 15 goes electromagnetic, polarity, vibration. Question 16. Why did the earthly beings lose their power? Okay, so you have the cosmic beings coming out of neither male nor female. Their vibration is lowering, so you get more of a plasmic earthly being. And at this stage, why, if they were coming out of that cosmic light form, they third eye, all of these things was working. Why were they losing their power? Answer: they allowed sensualism to overcome their balance. They did not remember the guidance of the cosmic ones to keep balance, keep the way. The code word is water. Water is the code word because of emotions. The water of emotions, the current flowing with the moon, the lunatic, the lunatic. So we went out of our mind in our sensualism. But the key to the balance of our sensualism and our material world was in the lunar power. Did y'all hear me? Was in the lunar power. That's why Dejahuti, Tahuti, Kansu, all of them were actually lunar deities, lunar gods. Even the name Yah, which the Hebrews claim was originally a lunar god of Kemet and of the Canaanites and of the Phoenicians, which went back into El or Al. Question 17. Did all the earthly beings not remember the guidance of the cosmic ones? So if the cosmic ones told us to keep balance, told us these things, how could the earthly beings ignore it? So who messed up? Who didn't listen? And where did it go wrong? So did they all not remember? No. Answer: no. Many of the earthly beings maintained the way with the cosmic ones. So many of them dwelt with the light body, the cosmic beings, for many of ages, learning, regaining the knowledge. But many allowed the Eve, the physical nature, the physical nature, to deceive them. So you say keep balance, not to fall so earthly, but the Eve, the physical nature, that is the deceiver of the mind of the divine being. And the illusions are constructed into this electromagnetical field of this plane, which deceives us of our own reality. It's like a box, a lockdown. Okay? Now, this happened through our own works. We're going to get through this. All right. 18. What happened to the earthly beings who allowed Eve to deceive them? Okay. So we're separating. So we got one group who did not allow their physical sensualness to deceive them of their spiritual heights, their spiritual powers. Many others did. What happened to them? They became, answer, they became the fallen ones. Code, lost word. Code, lost word. When you go through masonry studies and many other studies, they always talk about the lost word. And then as you go through your scripture or the Bible, they say that the Word was with God and the Word became flesh. So we began to understand that the Word. So the Word, the lost Word, the lost measurements of the flesh, the lost measurements of this physical temple. But the temple has to be built again, but it's been torn down. So this is where this starts to lead into. How did they become the fallen ones? Question 19. How did they become the fallen ones? Answer. They were caught in the meteorite shower and became cave dwellers. Code. Nature prescribed to the scribe. Listen what's said. Nature prescribes to the scribe. We are the scribes. We are the writers of this hologram. We are the creators of the electromagnetical balance in this sphere, in this plane, in this ionosphere, in this hemisphere, this atmosphere. We are the writers of balance or disbalance. And many of you don't know that every thought that you have affects the ionosphere of this plane, of this planet. When the ionosphere is disrupted or the ionosphere falls from the disruption of because our electromagnetical bodies produce a release in something, an ion, a photonical force, an element, an electron photon that affects the ionosphere, the ionosphere. I said the ionosphere, the ionosphere. And if the ionosphere falls, it makes this plane like a big magnet. And when we did that before, because of our sensualism, we fell into a state that we sent out a lot of disbalance, fight or flight, a lot of wrongly energy, and it affected the ionosphere to cause a meteorite shower. And this meteorite shower is the beginning of the second fall in our spiritual history. So what is the essence of this? So let's go back. Remember that the landmass was Pangea, one landmass. So this is important because when these meteorites start to beat down on the earth and hit this landmass, this plane, it causes natural destruction, causes fault lines to break, but it also caused volcano eruptions, and from the dust clouds and the volcanic eruptions, from the volcanic eruptions and the mushrooms, which cause dust clouds, because when the meteorites were hitting the earth, it's like a nuclear explosion. It causes a mushroom, and the mushroom causes a dust cloud. And this dust cloud that mushrooms, it stays in the air because it's magnetically charged. And it stayed in the sky. Remember Pangea? So when it hovers over the earth, it causes a blockage of the sun over the lands of the earth. And this causes our earth to go through a lower temperature dropping, which causes an ice age. Many people tell us about an ice age, but they don't tell us how we came to an ice age, what created the ice age. So when these meteorites hit, they cause the dust clouds, cause the mushrooming explosion effects that cause dust clouds with the release of the volcanic ashes from the volcanoes. It blocked out the sun for many years, and it caused an ice age. And even though the land masses were broken apart from the meteorites hitting, the temperature dropped so fast and the area froze that the land masses that broke off didn't get a chance to drift off. So we have a earth that there were these divine beings, light body beings, according to our ancestors, who came through the stargates of Cyrus and Cyrus and entered into this plane and became the inhabitant life force of this plane, of this earth, and gave birth. And they were first etheric body until the electromagnetic field started changing, the earth started changing, and then we became gender. And in our process of becoming gender and learning to keep balance, remember the landmass was Pangea. There were no white people, there were no race descriptions, there was just one divine roots of people here. And a lot of the master teachers explain that if you look at the leaves of the trees, which is called the fall time leaves, you see the colors brown, red, yellow, so called on the tree. These are actually the color of the fall, or the color of the beings originally on the planet. So yeah, we had real black, the black, and you got the brown, you got the red, and you got yellow, and then you have the olive for the green. So these are the colors of the original indigenous beings on this plane. So there's a whole another element to that. But let me get to the next question. I was just trying to get that feel, that building in, so as we get to the next question, it'll explain itself some more. Okay. What caused the meteorite shower? The earthly beings operating on a life caused the disbalance in the electromagnetic field of the universe, the ionosphere. So we're responsible. Nobody else caused a meteorite shower. And from the meteorite shower, everybody didn't survive. Some were taken by the guidance of the etheric light body ancient ones into what was called the underground cities of the earth. And those who were taken into the underground cities, they became protected and they maintained the balance. Now those who did not heed the warning from the ancient ones, from the cosmic light beings who were telling them through guidance, listen, if you don't stop, if you don't keep balance, you're going to bring natural destruction on you. You're going to cause things to happen. But at that point in time, we were the gods of the planet. So when the divine ones are telling us this, we gods. What do we have to fear? Yes, you gods. And that means you're part of the creative force. So you're a creator. But always remember, whatever you create, you have to deal with. So if you create this balance, which manifests something else and manifests something else, you've got to deal with it because you created it, you birthed it. For no matter what, you're always manifesting. This is why priesthood is important. Question 21. So the meteorite shower hits. Some of the people go into the underground cities of the earth and they're protected, and ones don't listen to the elders. They stay on top of the earth, and when the meteorite hits, destroying them and hitting, and some of them lose their bodies, the other ones flee to the caves of the mountain to seek protection. But when they run to the caves for protection, they're not there 1 day, 2 days. They're there some years. So they're running from this destruction that's happening on the earth, but there are also animals running. And they're running to the cave and into the mountains. Now, earlier, Remember, the dust cloud blocks out the sun. So if you run to the caves and to the mountain, and then all of a sudden you turn around and the planet starts to freeze, the food limitation starts to come. And then if you're in the caves and the vegetation outside is dying and freezing, the only thing you got to do is eat animal, try to drink blood, suck blood to survive. So everyone that ran in those caves, they may have ran into those caves normal. They may have ran in there human. But by the time they got out of there, after the hundreds of years, thousands of years of dwelling in those conditioning, they amalgamated with animals, and the DNA strand broke there. When the DNA strand breaks, it's called a mutation. So the mutation that we always talk about on the planet, it happened at that time period. This mutation, it broke. The DNA broke. And it created a mutated being. And this mutated being became known to us later in history as the Neanderthal, the caveman. But now you remember there's a Neanderthal, there's a caveman, but there are other people with divine intelligence living in underground cities because they have the guidance of the star, of the light beings who are teaching them the ancient science that was lost. Question 22. Is the dwelling in the cave the reason for the name Fallen Ones? The answer, it is not. They are called the Fallen Ones because during the meteorite shower, the dust cloud, which blocked out the sun, even more disbalanced. They became savages, amalgamated with animals for survival. Their melanin changed because of the years spent breeding in a lower state, mutating their DNA. The measurements of the man, the measurements of an angel had changed. It had fallen. So I saw an angel fall from heaven to earth. So once the DNA mutated, it created a lower being. And this lower being is called the Fallen One. Code, measurement, DNA. Question 23. Is this where the so-called white race evolved from? Answer. It is devolved. Yes. For all people come out of one people. This is the genetic genesis of the fall. The original cosmic ones, earthly beings, the Abyssinians, created the fallen ones through their fall from cosmic balance. So, who are responsible for all of the things that happened on the earth after this period? The original ones who caused the meteorite shower, who caused the mutation on the planet. Question 24. Does this make the white race bad? Answer. No. This means they are children of disbalance, of the fallen ones. It is not bad, it is cause and effect, the law. Code, nature, prescribes for the scribe. Meaning that nature prescribes for the scribe. You the scribe, so you write the frequency into the universe, and the universe gives it back to you. And it gives you scribe from what you wrote in nature. Question 25. So what happens to the earthly beings that kept the way and dwelt with the cosmic ones? What happened to the earthly beings that kept the way, kept their balance, kept the way, and dwelt with the cosmic ones? So they dwelt with the cosmic ones. They were taken into the underground cities of the earth with the cosmic ones. Answer. The cosmic ones, who we now call the ancient ones, guided their children, the earthly beings, who would keep the way into cities, Shambhala, Agartha. Before the meteorite shower hit, they gave warning that this balance will cause cosmic judgment, and that those that accept guidance travel within the earth will be the ancient ones. So the cosmic ones, who we now call the ancient ones, they guided a group of the earthly ones into the underground cities of the earth, Shambhala. And they guided them right before the meteorite shower to protect them, so that they would be able to grow food within the earth, be able to keep the studies, keep the mind open, come into their supreme self. Question 26. Are the earthly beings that went into the earth with the ancient ones the keeper of the day? I'm going to say that one again. Are the earthly beings that went within the earth with the ancient ones the keepers of the way? Answer. Yes, until they lost their way. Code Asa, underworld. Question 27. How did earthly beings who were keepers of the way lose their way? Answer. After the meteorite shower and the dust cloud cleared, the keepers of the way began to rebuild. For they still had an open third eye, supreme intelligence to construct. But as they built and traveled the new land, earth, they found in the caves, the Asia, the fallen ones. The fallen ones, these fallen ones in the Asia, the Caucasian, the Asia land. And these fallen ones were in a pure savage form, mutants, melanin generated, third eye pineal closed. The keepers of the way became divided upon saving the fallen ones or destroying them. The fallen state was causing division. The keepers of the way decided to try and regenerate, heal the fallen ones. As this regenerated process continued, the fallen ones became stronger. The fallen ones, began to attack the keepers of the way, beginning a great war. Due to the many stages of this great war, the inner division, the keepers of the way, lost the way, the word. Code Enliel Enki Israel. Question 28. What do you mean to regenerate the fallen ones? Answer. To regenerate is to transmutate the degenerated measurements, the DNA. Code 2117. Restore. 144. Jacob Yakub. Question 29. Is the riddle of Yaqub by the Nation of Islam? Is this the riddle of Yaqub by the Nation of Islam? Answer. Yes. The creating of the white man is really the regenerating science of the fallen ones. Code 26. Question 30. Did all the fallen ones attack? Answer. No. Some of them, after birthing process, the keepers of the way, were made upright in nature and morals. Question 31. Where did the attack begin to hit the strongest? Answer. It began in the land of Sumer, the land of Sobek dynasty, the dragon, the ram, the Sobek Nefru, the princess. Invading was before this, but this was the fallen one's major victory. Question 32. What happened when the fallen ones invaded Sumer? Answer. They captured many women after several battles to take over, while several of the keepers of the way fled south. This is the fleeing of the Sobek dynasty, the 12th dynasty. The Abram and Sobek Nefru, the princess, is into Kemet. So Abram, Sobek Nefru, the princess, they were fighters from their area. So they had to run down into Kemet. Who were these invaders? These were the fallen ones coming out of the caves. Question 33. Did the invasion stop in Sumer? Answer. No, that was just the beginning, for the fallen ones invaded all the lands of the keepers of the way. Through their invasions, they developed many new names. The Hurricane, they're supposed to be the Hurain, the Hyksos, etc. The invasions even extended to Turtle Island upon the keepers of the way, known as the Washita, the Washitwa. Code Exodus 1 verse 3, Indigene. So we got one more little thing here. And we'll catch this. Is how long? Well, let me go here. Question 34. Are they the Hyksos that invaded? Yes, they are the Hyksos who invaded Kemet in the 13th dynasty, but did not take over completely until the 15th dynasty. The attack on the family of Amram, the Amram, code 18 for the 18th dynasty. Destruction of the black civilization, wonderful Ethiopian Kushite empire. Two books that make you understand this code better. Question 35. How long were the Hyksos the fallen ones in Egypt when they invaded? Answer. From the 13th dynasty to the 18th dynasty, when Ahmosis I of the 18th dynasty rose from Abyssinia, Ethiopia, to run them from Kemet, Lower Egypt, and his successors such as Amenhotep, Thutmose I, Thutmose III, all continued to run them back across the burning deserts to back up past Syria in the present-day Iraq. Code 18 Dynasty, Moses, Joshua, Amun. Question 36. While the Hyksos were there, was there amalgamating amongst the people of the way in the Hyksos, fallen ones? Answer. Yes. Many years, many hundreds of years, just as was in Sumer when they first invaded as As always, they captured the women to breed, but enslaved the men or killed them. Code 144. The measurements of a man is the measurements of an angel, which is 144 cubits, which is the measurements of the wall. For those that are still in their degrees and remember. Question 37. Why is this period so important? Why is this Moses period, this Hyksos period, and all of this so important? Well, it's two things, because we have to understand that we have the fallen ones coming out of the cave, the Tamahu, the mutant, the half-breeds. And I say that because we started a birthing process with the ones who we found that were in the caves. And so we created this half-breed mutant with the original DNA trying to breed them back. But the first stage that we did this, male, the 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 divine bloodline of the male, and the male, when the male seed is deposited into the fallen mutant woman, it only produced an upright kind of like savage Mongolian. And we knew that that wasn't the answer. So the next stage was the birthing process was done through the black woman, because she's the possessor of the mitochondria DNA. And so she was the one that made them able to bear the sun again, allowed them to come out of the caves and avoid many of the deaths and the illnesses. So in the time periods when you are talking about these wars, Hyksos, Hurarians, and them, it's not like how you see a white person today. The development of white in the concept of how we see it today comes a little later on. So I want it to be understood, but it is here at this stage with the Hyksos, but it is a little different, and I want to make that clear. Question 36. While the Hyksos were there, was there amalgamating amongst the people of the way in the Hyksos? The first thing they always did was grab the women, slave the men. That was done through the invasions of the Hurarians in Mesopotamia, Acadia, coming all the way down. So this is why when you hear the stories in the Bible of so-called Joshua going back and conquering all these lands of and all of this, and we think these Canaanites, Jebusites, and Hittites, and all of this, and we like these people were one with these so-called Israelite bloodline when they were fleeing down. Why, when Joshua rises up, he goes and slays all of these areas, supposedly, right? That's the areas where the Hyksos, the fallen ones, the mutants had already took over and captured the women and breeded and enslaved the men. So when you understand this history, you can understand the correlation of the attacks in those areas of the wars that were being implemented in those areas, to give a biblical record on that understanding. So why is this period so important? This is the period described to Moses and Joseph, both symbolic of a greater truth of the 18th dynasty, also known as Ahmosian or Hasmoneans, which became later on your Maccabees, Hasmoneans, but they are from the 18th dynasty. The wars of Lower Egypt and Kemet. Code ruler 19 Maccabees. Question 38. Why is northern Kemet called lower and southern called upper? This is ancient, for the kingdom of Abyssinia and Kemet has been around since the first polar shift, when the polarity was opposite. Cold, Sirius, polarity, western sun. Question. 39. How is Joseph a symbolic truth of Lower Egypt? Answer. Joseph, one of the 12 tribe brothers, of the 12 brothers of, one of the 12 sons of Jacob. Joseph is a key for Exodus chapter 1, verse 8. There came a king, a Pharaoh, who knew not Joseph. So the question is always posed to anyone who read this is, if you go back to the book right before Exodus, Genesis, the last 3 chapters explains to you that all of Egypt, under the orders of the Pharaoh and everyone, all of Egypt mourned for the death of Jacob, of Israel, and they honored Joseph for saving them from the famine. So the question would be for you here, Exodus 1 verse 8, is how could there come a king who knew not Joseph? Unless this king was an invader. So we have an outside invader king being explained to us right here in Exodus 1 verse 8. And the key was he knew not Joseph. So the time period of Joseph symbolizes the Hyksos invasion time period. For the Abraham lineage down to Joseph symbolizes the Sobek dynasty, Sumer, fleeing back into Egypt, into Kemet from the invasion of the fallen ones. And the fallen ones, what did they do? They took Apis. When they conquered up in the Sumer areas and kept coming down, they took Apis, which became the bull, Apis the bull. But that's why it's called Papa Bull. The Catholic Church, Papa Bull. That's why Wall Street has the bull, which we'll get into that in a little bit more detail in our next build, just throwing it in there. Question 40. Does Abraham or Abram and Joseph represent a group, keepers of the way, and not one person? Yes, they are symbols of keepers of the way, the bloodline. That is why in 1 Chronicles 5 verse 1, it is explained that the birthright, the bloodline, was registered to Joseph's sons. So you may see one story, but you have to pay attention to the whole story. In the book of Genesis, Jacob, Israel, lays his hands to choose one of Joseph's sons. And when Jacob, Israel, chooses Joseph's sons, he places his son on Ephraim. And Joseph says, you chose my youngest son. It's a mistake. But Jacob let him know it wasn't. Now, Ephraim then is the chosen bloodline. His hands have been placed on him as the one who carries the seed, carries the pearl. Well, later on, that is fulfilled because Ephraim is the tribe in which Joshua, in the time of Moses, Joshua is an Ephraimite. So that becomes very important. Joshua, a son of Joseph. Joshua, a son of Joseph, an Ephraimite. Okay, so we'll get there a little deeper in that too. So Abraham and Joseph both represent a time period, but they also represent a group of people. So you have to understand the symbolism in the cipher there. Therefore, as we study, we see in history the times that correlate to the 12th dynasty is Sumer for Abraham, and the 13th dynasty invasion of Egypt committed by the Hyksos to Joseph. So we have to understand those things. We have to put those things in the right perspective and build on what the keys is there. The code is bloodline. And again, it is C-I power her, cipher. So this is a very important part of the cipher. Why is Joseph important when the next character of the Bible in the Quran is Moses, saves Israel? Answer. Considering that Joseph represents the birthright in the bloodline, we must decode this as it scripture. Code part 1 gives Joseph's son, Ephraim, the birthright. Then when Joseph is mentioned in Exodus chapter 1 verse 8, this is the time of so-called Moses coded the son of Imran, and the Quran raises Amram above all nations, taking us to Surah 19, Mary. The number 19 we find is in the final call, called the mystery number. 19 is also in the supreme alphabet as self-savior. So this birthright code is leading us to the Savior, the 19. In Surah 19, Mary, it states that Mary, the mother of Isa, Jesus, is the daughter of Amram and sister of Aaron. This and Surah 66. So the Quran chronology places Mary in the time, Mary of Jesus, Isa, in the time of Moses. But in the time of Moses, there's a character called Joshua, aka Yahshua, aka Jesus. So what is the Quran trying to tell us here? So we're going to do that. Question 42. So how is Mary in the time of Amram? How does this connect to Joseph? The answer, Joseph's wife is Asenath, a daughter of an Egyptian priest. Remember, we have to remember, we're putting it back together. Remember, the woman carries the mitochondrial DNA, the bloodline. Now, Moses also marries a daughter of a priest, but Moses is a symbolic character, for in Moses' time, no pharaoh died in the Red Sea. Egyptologist Petrie explained that Mount Sinai was an 18th dynasty rock temple. So in the time of Moses, the 18th dynasty, Ahmoses I rose from Abyssinia and ran the Hyksos out of Egypt. So Ahmoses I is Moses. And Zipporah, Moses' wife, is Nefertari, Ahmoses. And Nefertari and Ahmoses, they have a son. Their son name is Amenhotep. So Amenhotep is who is also with Joshua. I put Unkinton there, but I'll go a little further than that. But he is Joshua. So if he is Joshua in English, that means in Hebrew he is Yahshua. So that means, let's go. Then Joseph, father of Ephraim, is called, and Joshua, being an Ephraimite, is a code for son of Joseph, the bloodline. Coded as father of Jesus, and Mary is the mother. So Joseph being the time of Amram and Mary the daughter symbolizes the dragon dynasty, Sobek. The Sobek dynasty and the 18th dynasty that came together in Lower Kemet to produce the Savior. For Isa, Jesus in Hebrew is Yahshua, and translated to English is Joshua. So the Quran places Jesus as an 18th dynasty king. The 18 missing years code of the Circle 7. So Mary is Nun, the primordial waters. Because remember, Joshua of the Bible is born from a Nun, Mary, the primordial waters, the abyss, the Amram. So code here is Joseph, and Joseph code is a master craftsman, 22 in the rib. Question 43. Now we're closing it out. We're almost there. Question 43. Are you saying there was no Jesus? Answer. Yes, I am. The name Jesus as of the years has been exposed to be an incorrect translation of the name Yahshua in English. The story as held in the Bible and the Quran are both codes of the bloodline and metaphysical science of self. Know thyself. Now, this is not to exclude the historical Yahshua ben Pandadar, the Black Panther, who is of the Hasmonean, Akhmosian 18th dynasty bloodline. The Hasmonean and its code, history, Maccabees must be understood. But the Yahshua, Jesus, is a dimensional truth without dimension, and as an object is flatlined and dead. So in the times, you have to understand Hyksos invasion, then from this, the Hyksos will run out, but they really don't go nowhere. These Hyksos then become Greeks, Romans, the Ptolemys dynasty, the Seleucid dynasty, Alexander the Great, and they're still seeking the certain things. They try to come back in, they pursue it, they put down their little attacks, and then they're witnessing also to the rise still of the Hasmonean dynasty. So in their process, the counter to re-replicate the Asar set, and they create the Herapis or Serapis symbol. And from Serapis, they tried to give Serapis a wife, but then they took Serapis and they made Serapis the Son of Man. They made Serapis the Christ, the Christos, the Yahshua, and then Serapis became Jesus. But Serapis was Osiris, the Asar, and the Apis, the bull, put together. So somebody realized that they had to counteract what was going on naturally in our bloodlines and what was taking place. So the history kind of correlated the stories, leaving you the carbon footprints of our divine truth. So going to the next question, question 44. Where are the Hasmonean now? As stated, the 18th dynasty bloodline. Answer. The very question is why our story was covered up in veil to seal the identity. The very question is why our story, our history was covered up and veiled to seal the identity. Many are here in the West asleep. Many fled to places such as Nubia, Abyssinia, and even France, Carthage, as Lower Kemet, Egypt was in. This 18 must be understood as more than just historical, but as present, for the invasion did not stop. Many fled, but many were captured. This is now entering a mouth to ear answer. 13. So some things in our degrees we do not reveal. We give our question and answers, and we hope you cipher and build. And we'll give out basics, but there are things that we are withholding under the Black Messiah's degrees. Question 45. How does our story affect religions of today? Answer. It is the keys to the riddle. For all which people call religions are clandestine orders, holders of sealed riddles of life. The ancient lodges were overrun by invasions, but we, dimensional Stargate travelers, come to remove the seals placed by the invaders, to control the children of the Most High. We are keepers of the way, the ether, the people of the book. Tsadok, Tsadok, Zedek, Tsadek, Zedek, priest. But Tsadok is the sons and daughters of Kemet. Our story is cosmic oneness, the truth, the whole of all forms. It will unite all religions and people. The matrix is being revealed. Some will master and build. Our people, blind and divided, are removed from religions when our story is revealed. Code 123, the star, the sun. Question 46. Based on this, why did the Prophet Muhammad reveal this? Why didn't the Prophet Muhammad reveal this in the Quran? Answer. The Quran does reveal it in a code. The Islamic religion is only a degree of teachings from Kemet and a code historical key. For Anan, the priest of Kemet of the 18th dynasty, was the bloodline as Adites or Kushites, who also fled the invading fallen ones, the Turks. The key in the Quranic revelations is the family of Amram. Code, all truths are but half truths. 1-8 Amina 365. Question 47. Are you saying Islam is only another form of an ancient secret order? Answer. Yes. For most forgot at this time Kemet, Egypt had been overrun, but even the invaders had adapted the rites of sacred lodges. The true sacred orders were still seeking out the worthy to keep the way. We must stress that Islam brought by the invaders is different from its ancient form. Code, order, 4-5, Islam, Stone. Codes. Question 48. Are all the world faiths orders? All faiths are but degrees of the ancient order of divine truth. This is why, as a Messiah, you must study all degrees, for they are all keys. You must take the orders of Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Gnostic, Coptic, Sumerian tablets, Masonry, Freemasonry, and combine them all. For the Messiahs are required to take the lessons of Noble Drew Ali, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Clarence 13X, Rastafari houses, York Nuwabian, Yahweh ben Yahweh, Prince Hall Masonry, Egyptian Yoga, all parts of the Bible, and put all the books together as the prophets of today, our new Bible. Now the people can build that which was torn down. This is the knowledge the black messiahs hold as supreme intelligence. For he who knows one book knows none, for he is not a remember. Code 357, equaling 15. Knowledge of power. Question 49. Who is the Messiah according to our story? Answer. This is revealed to those who master the 7 degrees. To learn what is revealed, join the Black Messiahs and learn who is the Messiah. As we fulfill our works now, working with the EWF, the Ethiopian World Federation, developing from degrees of our history, education programs for our children, heal their minds. We will try to continue and record and place these degrees and recordings online as best as possible so that people can review them and keep building and study the works from them. Later this week, I will continue and I will read the second degree and we will continue to build. I thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. Just doing the documentation, locking it in. Thank you.